We'll resume the agenda here. We'll go to 4.1, approval of the minutes. Councillor Chamzik has made the motion to approve the minutes from the last committee of the whole meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Councillor Hall? Are you there? So that would be 7-0. Motion carried. So we have a delegation coming in 11:30 a.m. It's not that time yet, so we'll go to item 6.1 action item list discussion. Anybody want to start? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I have a few items I'd like to ask about. First one's on page 27 of your agenda, related to road bans and resolution number CC 2467. Would it be possible to get an update or through the chair to administration to ask when we can expect to see the new amended traffic bylaw coming to council?
Mr. Chairman, don't know when I have time to work on it.
Okay, okay.
Next item. There's some pages here. On page 32 of the agenda. Items CW 24-114, CW 24-126 are asking for proposed land use bylaw amendments and procedural bylaw amendments to come to committee of the whole. Kind of wondering when those will be here as well.
At a future date for sure. We've identified some more pressing items than the ones that we originally talked about. And so the pressing items have to do with area structure plans and outline plans. So we're working on bringing something to council in the future on that.
Wonderful. And then resolution CW 2471 was to table the motion until after public consultation on the cemetery mowing program has been completed. I'm just wondering, since that was from May of 2024, did we do any public consultation on the cemetery mowing program, or is that something we're going to be doing this year?
Mr. Chairman, none has occurred, and we would actually ask council for a refresher on that. Like, who would we be consulting with that, on that? The general public or just cemetery owners, or, you know, like, who would you like consulted? And what would you ask them?
I guess we had through our last survey on the budget, I think, wasn't it? That we had a bit of feedback regarding the cemetery mowing program, but not a lot. And we didn't really have a discussion about it after. So I don't know if council still wants to have a discussion. Councillor Chamzik first.
Well, as a follow-up,
Oh, okay.
I'd be willing to make a motion to recommend to county council to discuss the public consultation process so that council can either rescind this motion or give the clearer direction to administration. I don't think it's something that we want to just continuously let sit on the action item list. If administration needs clearer direction, or if council wants to reconsider, I think I'd be willing to make a motion to get it to council so that we can make that happen.
Okay, I'll try to write that motion down. Councillor Chamzik.
Well, if that motion's going on the table, that's all right. That discussion can happen there.
Cemetery. Yeah, I think I got that wrote down. Any other discussion regarding, we'll make that motion after we discuss more on this, or how do you want to do that? Yeah, okay. Okay, well, we have the motion.
I'll make the motion to recommend to county council to discuss resolution CW 2471 and give clearer direction regarding the cemetery mowing program and public consultation.
Sounds good. I don't think I have to read that motion back, so do you have that?
To give clear direction regarding the cemetery mowing program, public consultation.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm pretty sure that is 8-0, so move that one forward. And now any other discussion on the action list? Go ahead.
Thank you. I think, the spirit of maybe this action list and with regards to the heavy workloads that we're facing, that maybe we can also have a discussion on picking out our priorities of what we really want to see, as the top ones that, administration needs maybe help to focus on or whatever, how we want to handle that. And I'm hoping we can have that bit of discussion today so that, we can, maybe make this a little bit easier for everybody to understand what's going to take place and when. And hopefully council has an idea of what their priorities are. I wanted to mention a few other items that maybe possibly we could rescind and a couple of questions that we're looking at. So the very first one that I looked at on page 27 was with the Athabasca Landing Trail, CC 23653. As we know, this was a motion from 2023. And when I look at that, and it says, you know, the discussion item on trails and trail strategy to a future committee of the whole meeting, I think we can all agree that, being that this was a 2023 item, it's not something that we're going to see as a main priority. And it's only the priority in our strategic plan is it be added to the think tank kind of scenario. We were successful in forwarding a memorandum of understanding there, and there is also a master plan with regards to the Athabasca Landing Trail. And so I'm wondering if council might be interested in rescinding this particular motion until we revisit strategic planning.
But
I wouldn't be in favor of rescinding, but I do think that maybe reconsideration or look at it again and forward it, make sure that it lands on the service level discussion. I think trails are a service that we are providing. So maybe that's another thing that will get pushed to that discussion to make sure that it happens there.
And in doing that, is there a change to this motion or an additional motion to refer to this motion? I'm just trying to figure out what's the easiest way to get it through so that we can hammer off some of these items off this list. I agree, level of service is a great place for this to go. And is that something maybe we just put a motion through that that resolution number CC 23653 recommend to council to include in a level of service agreed discussion. That's where we're at. You want to do
Yeah.
the motion now? Yeah.
And that would take that off of the action item list and just revert to that, correct?
Well, I'm not sure how administration wants to administrate this item list in that case. If we're moving it to a level of service, can that come off here or does it remain here? I don't really know what's the best option there.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not too sure the best way to handle that one. I think the bigger discussion is committee or council. You really have about 7 or 8 months until the next election. And really some work shuts down a couple months before the election. Let's be honest, things get busy with other things. What are the top 5 to 10 things you really need figured out between now and the election? Because these eight pages or 10 pages probably aren't going to happen. So it's fine to hand them off to the next council. That's good. But there's some things that this council would really like to see happen, and in what order, if you know what I mean. And so maybe there needs to be a discussion about that, I think. Could we prioritize these in some manner so we know which ones are most important for council? For us to be working on for council. Otherwise, we're not going to get much done, and we might be picking the wrong objective. We might be working on something on page 32, and the rest of council is kind of going, why are we even working on that anymore? No one's called me about that in a year and a half. So it would really give us some direction. That's great.
I want to thank you for that, CEO Beck, because I know that with this many motions on the plate, exactly that, we're not going to do all these. There's just no way. And I think we do need to mark down some priorities for administration to be able to move forward with them. And with the amount of work that's happening in administration right now, it's also quite evident that we don't want to keep bombarding more and more. Can you do that? It doesn't seem like a big thing when we move a little motion forward, but it actually takes away time from what it should be spent at doing. So we have some big issues. I know I'll give the floor back to the Reeve Holland, because I know she's got some priorities she wants to put forward.
Thank you. So we'll just back up with regards to the other one. Are we going to, before we move on to just, deciphering priorities for the Athabasca Landing Trail, level of service discussion, exactly, it was on the strategic plan, et cetera. I am very much in favor of rescinding this at this point. And if we want to create a new motion to go forward with the level of service discussion, then that there's several level of service discussions that are in this already, and that's going to be a huge, that should be a day in itself, as far as I'm concerned. So that's, I'd like to just know where council's at. I'm quite happy to rescind that motion. I'm quite happy to create a new motion to forward it to the level of service.
I'd be in agreement with that, because it's going to be a long drawn out conversation anyway. It's not going to be a quick and we should do it at the level of service. So
I agree with that. I think our level of service to our conversation is going to be an all-day affair, and I think that's the appropriate place for it.
Okay. So if we can put a motion, if I'm okay with that, to put a motion forward to recommend to county council to rescind CC 23653 and to forward the trails and trail strategy to a future level of service discussion.
So let's take care of this motion, and then we can move on again, to rescind CC 23-653 and move the motion to the level of service discussion.
Move trails and trail strategy to a level of service discussion.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Everybody understand it? So that's recommend the county council to remove that, rescind that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 8-0. Thank you.
May I follow up?
You betcha you can follow up. Yep.
Thank you. I'm just going to quickly run through. I have a few questions here, but I do have a priority listing, so I don't know what you want to hear first, but I'm hoping I can get rid of a few more of these on here. The next one, again, I just was curious about the second one down on page 27, CC 23668. I believe that's in progress, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
It is, Mr. Chairman.
So we just leave it there with that. Are we
Yeah,
able to
since it's
update?
being worked on,
Yeah,
and I would say it's more than 50%
Okay.
complete, this list, there's some chance of bringing it ahead.
okay, thank you. One item down from that is CC 23713. A 2025 construction plan is a priority for me. I don't know where everyone else is sitting. wouldn't say it's number one, but it is definitely a priority that I would consider. So I put a P beside that one for priority.
Which is that one?
That is CC 23713, third one down on page 27. Okay, so that one I had as a priority. The item that with regards to the helipad site assessments, town and village, to table this item until a further presentation from the community group and stars, CC 24141. Is council interested in rescinding this item because we're moving into different directions with regards to the conversations that are taking place with our urban partners? Are we interested in rescinding that?
I support that.
All right, so do we put that motion through? Oh, we have a, sorry.
Go ahead, Councillor Wallach.
Thanks. Just because this wasn't on our radar coming into this meeting, it wasn't on the agenda to set priorities. I'm wondering if we can table this conversation to the next one so we all have a chance to go through it.
Yep.
I guess, as was just mentioned, we are running out of time. With regards to the next few months, we have 6 committee of the whole meetings left. In this whole conversation, these agendas come out with regards to having the time to look at these action item lists, to determine our questions, to bring forward what our concerns are. And I think that if we could just continue the discussion in what some of these priorities look like and give administration some direction, it would be very beneficial. We always have the opportunity to, this is a recommendation to council. And so we always have that opportunity to come back and say, hey, you know what, I didn't like that, or I like this instead. So I hope we can carry on with this conversation.
Well, I think we can carry on with the conversation because we're trying to get items off of the action list, plus even come up with some priorities. And then if we, the next committee of the whole meeting, we're gonna discuss the action item list again. I'm sure that if all of a sudden somebody thought of a priority that wasn't being looked at, we could discuss it there again. So I would like to actually, out of today's discussion, at least move something forward so administration knows what us as council are looking forward to get done, instead of being all over the map here. Would that work for you, Councillor Wallach?
Well, I just feel like we're all over the map right now, so
Well, we're gonna be all
yes,
over.
whatever.
I think we'll be all over the map until we actually have this discussion and try to narrow this down to a workable list. Because the list is all over the map. And that's what administration is looking for, is to come up with a kind of like a path that they can go down on and try to finish off some of these items that they know that's important to council. So
Mr. Chairman, my gut tells me if we don't do this in a strategic or a tactical manner today, we could be here all day just on this one item. I would recommend you, if there's anything you need an update on today out of the action list, let's do that as you normally do. Otherwise, let's punt this to another committee meeting a month from now or sometime in the future, and we'll recommend to you maybe some paths forward on how we prioritize some of these items so that we actually are doing the things that council wants us to do between now and the end of your term. That's all. And leave it to us. We'll propose a process back to you, maybe to expedite this review. How's that?
okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's fair to me, because it's like, yeah, no, you're exactly right. We'll just keep doing this dance around this table until tonight at 6 o'clock. So So, do we? So, okay, so we're going to still go through the action item list real quick here and then. Like the CEO said, they'll bring back maybe a path that they feel that we should be going down and for the next committee of the whole. Thank you.
May I continue?
Yep.
All right, so I guess we'll. Like I say, I think we could have pounded through some of this quite quickly. With regards to status, I have other questions, but I guess if we're going to go forward with that, I'll just make the comment that priorities are definitely, for me, easy to pick out of here. That would be a construction, that would be the intergovernmental relations agreements, funding agreements, as well as water. And the rest of this, I believe that we can hammer out as time permits, but those are my top priorities. I do have status questions, but we do have a delegate coming, so I'll just leave that off the table for now.
But if you want to go through some of those questions. Oh. Okay, okay, any more questions regarding the action item list right now, or do you want to table this until after the delegation?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna table this discussion until after the delegation. And we will go from there. I don't think there's a vote on table. Yeah, okay. All in favor of tabling this until after? Sure. All opposed?
Hey,
Nay, rather.
Okay. 6.2. What's that? We're ready to go. Okay, so we are moving into the delegation with 5.1. Mr. Gabriel. Hopefully I got your name right. We'll go around and introduce ourselves and then we'll get you to introduce yourself. Please use the mic when you're and that you betcha, but the mic on in front of you. Yeah, betcha. And you got about delegations are about 15 minutes. So use your time wisely, I guess, and we'll go from there. Councillor Cromwell.
Good morning, welcome, Gary Cromwell, Division 6, far north up to and including the Wandering River area. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Joe Burlock from the Rochester Perivale area, Division 1.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you for coming today. My name is Tracy Holland, Councillor for Division 5, which is east of Athabasca as well as Riva County.
Good morning, Rob Mins, Division 8, up East Lake Island Lake area.
Kelly Chamsick, Division 7, Grassland, Posvita, Atmore areas.
Good morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is Casden area.
Oh, just a minute, Councillor Hall, you there?
Brian Hall, I reside in Division 4.
morning, Camille Wallach, Division 9, north of the river.
Okay, and then we'll go around and introduce ourselves. Jordan, you want to start?
Hi, I'm Jordan Schenkelberg. I'm the communications coordinator.
I'm Tammy Plurd. I am the recording secretary.
Bob Beck, CAO.
And then behind you that they don't have mics, Krista Wilkinson. Planning and Development Emergency Services, Shadi Ambley, Corporate Services, and Lord knows. Diane Cluche. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
good morning, Honorable Reeve Holland and council members. Thank you very much for seeing me today. I hope everyone can hear me. I'll just speak up because I don't want to be standing in the way of the presentation, okay? But we'll get right to the heart of the matter. Situation has changed with the family property that we've had since 1961, a gift from my father, who never actually got to set foot on the land, but this land has now become inaccessible because of some changes made by one of our neighbors, which is fine. Can't fault them for that, but we'll get on with it. The land in question is this little quarter section immediately east of part of North Buck Lake. The part that includes Scenic Acres and Little Gibbons, if you're familiar with the area. We're just south of the provincial campground, which is to the north here on this peninsula. As I said, the land was purchased in 1961 by my father as a gift to the family, and we've been going there forever, just using the land as it is. We haven't had any aspirations to develop it other than to keep it as a place that we could call a private campground, for lack of a better term. Okay, so there is some development around us. The Sam and Catherine Such, many years ago, they purchased a lot of the lakefront property and areas around the lake and converted them into recreational properties, a kind of trailer park kind of a concept. CNS Parks is the current name, I think, of the operation. And we had a fantastic arrangement with our neighbors where they allowed us to use this road here to access our land. Sam said, hey, whenever I'm bringing in some gravel, I'll just throw a couple extra loads down for you so you can get across the sand. Loved him. Anyways, they passed away about 10 or 15 years ago and passed the land and the operation down to their children, Bill and Arlene Such. Now, if you look at the land here, we are kind of in the middle of no man's land. We've got neighbors to the east, a couple of neighbors to the west, some to the south. This is Crown land here. And every single property owner around us has access to their own land. We don't. And that's the nature of today's discussion. This is one of the examples. So an approach going into Al Michael's property. This is the road that we used to use to get to our land through the Such property. And at the end of this road, again, I can't fault them for wanting to put up a gate because this used to let everybody into the Crown land. And on their way through, they would drop off their renovation waste, their broken toilets, their kitchen counters and cabinets. And I've been cleaning that up for over 45 years now. So I don't mind them having a gate here that actually cuts down the bad guys, the bad actors. But it does create that problem that we no longer have that access. So I've spoken to a number of people around. Unfortunately, our neighbors are not agreeable to allowing us an easement. They just want to protect what they have. I totally understand that. So the only logical access that remains is this road allowance that runs to the quarter, to the southwest corner of our quarter section. It's fully treed. It's difficult to even walk through on a good day. And I've spoken to other members of council and land people, etc. If this road allowance were to be developed by the county, the cost to me would be somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000. And then the county would be responsible for plowing it, for maintaining it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The biggest problem is I would not be able to put a gate where I'd like it to be. I'd have to put a gate here, which leaves my neighbors to the northwest and to the southwest vulnerable to 550 meters of unwanted trespassing traffic. And it's the same kind of yahoos that have forced Bill and Arlene to shut their gate. So the solution that I'm going to propose is that somehow we come to an agreement with the county where I purchase this road allowance that actually serves no other purpose than to give us access to that land. If we go back a couple of slides right here, it doesn't go anywhere but to our property, and everybody else has their access to the south, to the west, to the east. To the north is more Crown property and what they call Little Buck Lake. It's glorified slough, but I like it. Anyways, so that is the recommendation that I'm making. With your blessings, I would like to enter into some kind of agreement where we purchase this, we develop it to our specifications, which are nowhere near what the specifications would be required by council and the county. Pardon me. I'm sure the county is not interested in building roads. I think I heard that earlier. You're not in the business of building roads. So let's just take a look at this screen. Our property is this one right here, this little quarter section. And this is actually the plan that was done by the original survey back in 1912. And here's our, for just a little bit of reference, Caslin to the south, North Buck Lake. I've colored it a little bit. But if we zoom in to my little dreamland, that section is mostly muskeg. About 2/3 of it is muskeg, which makes it very difficult for anybody to develop to any kind of standard. We just want a skidoo trail, something I can ride in on a trike and maybe squeeze my Chev Silverado out there without scratching it up too bad. But also for security, I'd like to be able to put a gate right there at the Township Road 173A, I think it is. So to summarize, I didn't want to throw all of these up to you at one time, but we have been paying the residential taxes on the property for, well, since 1961 at least. And that's gone towards improvements in the county, schools, roads, etc. But our land is actually off the grid. We don't have any power, no water, no sewer, and now no road. Without access, we can't protect our land. We can't patrol it. We can't clean up. We can't do anything. I mean, you know, it's kind of useless. It's nice to look at pictures, but I'd rather be there listening to the owls and coyotes and bears. The road allowance is, like I said, about 2/3 of it is muskeg. It's not attractive for anybody to develop, but I'll take it on if I can have that privilege with your blessing. Through the road closure, the county would have no responsibility to maintain it. We just put a gate there, maybe some cameras, and be able to provide some security. One of the fringe benefits, one of the side benefits would be going back to this picture, okay? If something were to happen somewhere out here in the backwoods, it's about a 6-kilometer ride through the bush to get from 831, I believe it is, the gravel road. That's at the east edge of, I know I'm off the map here because that's how far it is. But that gravel road to get into this area, it's a long way and it's difficult. And there was actually a tragedy where a lady, a senior citizen, flipped a quad, wound up getting severely injured. She didn't die on site, but it took the EMTs quite a while to get there. If we had a road, just any kind of standards, it gives another access point if first responders had to get to our land or the lands, the Crown lands beyond. So that sums up the story. Are there any questions? I hope I'm within time here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that presentation. Is there any questions for Mr. Gabriel? Regarding access? Go ahead, Councillor O.
Thank you for your presentation and for coming in to speak to us. So I understand that the idea of a road closure and a lease has also been proposed to you as a possibility, but in the presentation, you only talked about private ownership. Can you speak to that and why one's more attractive than the other?
Well, I understand in the case of the lease, what has been suggested as a long-term lease would be like 3 to 5 years. That doesn't give any peace of mind to us over the long term for my children or their children who are now starting to enjoy the land as much as we can when we walk in carrying our, our water and our food. We would like an enduring solution to this problem, and to add that road allowance to our title would really kind of grease the wheels and give us some peace of mind that something isn't going to change down the road. And again, put us in the same situation where I have to come speak to the county. I hope, does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay, any other just questions or? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Can you speak to the development you currently have on the property and how emergency access would be? Like, would emergency access be possible if there was a fire or anything on this property at the current time?
At the current time, if first responders had to get into the land, they would probably have to knock down the gate that Bill and Arlene put up. Our gate would be built to the same standards. Okay, we want to make it quite obvious that everything beyond here is private property. But if first responders for some emergency fire, whatever, had to get in, knock it down, or bolt cutters or whatever it is that's required. That you saw the lock mechanism on the gate that Bill and Arlene had put up. Those are pretty secure, but I'm sure with the right kind of zip cutter, you could get through the bolt. Other than that, I can see no other way to get in there other than coming from the far side, which again is unreasonable.
Yvonne?
Thank you very much for your presentation and the information you provided to us. I was just curious about the undeveloped road allowance that's to the north of your property that I'm looking at on on our agenda package is page 23 from your slide. Keep going. It would be keep going. Yeah, you can see it there. So on the north west corner, there's an undeveloped road allowance there. Is that not something else that could be considered as an access?
The challenge with this is right behind, unfortunately, I don't know if you can get that.
I can see it on the lake. Yeah, I can see the lake here.
Yeah, all the land around this is barely firm enough to support a tree.
Okay.
Because it's very good, it's low lying pretty much from, I'm gonna say from about this line up to here. It's more slough than anything else, slough to muskeg. And that water has been disappearing. Maybe in another 100 years, it'll be dry enough that we can build a road there, but not now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No one online's got any? Councillor Gerlach.
Is there any reason why a lease would be of any specific term? Why would a lease in this particular instance not be an enduring lease until something actually came up where it was required for some purpose?
You want, yeah, that would be through administration, but yeah, we can discuss this later. I guess we're just with the delegation, we're just looking for questions, and then we can discuss what could possibly happen later on. And at the end of our meeting on 8.1. So is there any other questions to Mr. Gabriel? That, go ahead.
I do have a point to make to that. The concept of lease has been presented and we did kick it around for a while. I don't know if that would give us the same kind of, call it runway to be able to put a gate here. And for there to be any kind of term, maybe another consideration might be to include in the sale a buyback clause, where if for some reason that road allowance ever became of value to the county, the county could buy it back. Maybe that's something that could be discussed, but really, it's 0.5 kilometer of muskeg. What value does it provide to the county? Is the question that I'd be asking.
I just want to make one comment here. We don't have the authority to sell that road allowance. That is actually, that road allowance is owned by the Crown. And to actually close that road allowance is going to be, would be a huge stepping stone. That I'm just giving you a little information there. We don't own the road allowances. We are the maintainer of the road allowances. And it's still owned by the Crown. So
Okay. Someone had a discussion with the Crown if they'd have any objection to such purchase, and there was no objection either to that or to the road closure. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And I know that there's a cost which we're willing to take, but the cost of not doing something right now means I can't go there.
okay, well, we'll discuss that later on in 8.1 under new business. So if there's no other questions from council or anything. Oh,
Sorry, I just have one more, and of course, you'll know the lay of the land way better than I, so I was just again off of 654 at the bottom of that page, there's another road allowance, of course, to the south, yeah. Is that land also not favorable for road construction?
It's the same kind of thing. Okay, but that muskeg portion is pretty much right where the corner of the quarter section is. And this is a much longer stretch, which would be, I don't know what worked out to, a couple of $100 per foot is the cost of developing the road. That adds up really quickly. Like I said, we have no aspirations of building anything more than what could support that Chev Silverado or a Skidoo in the winter or a trike or a quad in the summertime. I think they call it a field access. So,
Okay.
But there's nothing going on there commercially. It's just a place to be.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
okay. See you no more. Thank you very much for your presentation and everything, and we'll be discussing it later. You're okay to stay if you want to stay in the discussion, or you can find out from administration after what's been kind of decided.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You bet.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
So it is 10 to 12, and I know lunch is here. So before we do any more, do we want to break for lunch? Say we come back at 12:15. Sound good? Okay, thank you. So we'll reconvene the committee of the whole meeting and go back to the table item of roundtable discussions, action item list. And Reeve Holland had the floor right down.
Thank you. So I guess just in the last, I understand what was being said, but just to finish off the last item that I had recommended as a motion to recommend to county council to rescind CC 24-141, which is on page 27 of your agenda package.
So we have a motion, we may as well look at this. You have a motion on the floor right now to recommend to rescind motion, recommend the county council to rescind motion CC 24-141. Any discussion regarding that? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion? All opposed?
Nay.
So that would be 4, 1 against, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And if
So-
I may
Yep,
just finish
you
off?
betcha.
Okay, great. So through the chair to administration, just asking on that same page, the very last item, CC 24-325, status on that one, if there is one, to direct administration to proceed with the demolition of the derelict properties as presented in closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've received hazardous materials report on the one property, and staff still intend to get that done before spring thaw, because we don't know when that'll be. The other one actually will be on for sale. That is and I think we provided an update to council on that. That is the one in Rochester. We're trying to sell it as is, where is. So hopefully we have these to resolve this spring.
Okay, thank you so much. On the next page, page 28, with regards to the capital projects, CC 24344. That would, I guess I put my P beside that one as a priority as well, just for information. Further down of that same page, just as a status question with regards to CC 24-398, that council authorized administration to take necessary steps to place the properties identified in Rochester for sale by public tender or by the similar and competitive process. Was that referring to just what you had mentioned?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next one down, CC 24-443. Just curious if Amber Valley has reached out with regards to any information coming forward on the status of their grant.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we have not heard anything from Amber Valley for quite some time on this application.
Okay, thank you very much. Next page, page 29. I believe the first item there, CC 24-516 letters were sent, if I'm not mistaken, on that one too.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and so that's still just a ongoing, okay, in progress. And it is the same thing, next one down 24-518, that council supports the Fire Smart grant application as presented. Is that grant just,
We submitted them and we were successful in some. So
okay, so it can be removed?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we can take one more off. Excellent. Okay, so that can come off. And again, we talked about the level of service discussion, so there's several of them on here. The water to postpone, which I believe this is water, CC 24573 to postpone until council has been able to have a discussion at an upcoming committee of the whole meeting, providing specific direction on how we would like water rates lowered. I think we did that, didn't we?
I believe you did as well, Mr. Chairman. I believe you passed a motion, and it'll be on the action list somewhere, speaking to the exact things that council wanted us to bring back in the report.
Okay.
There were a list of things.
Perfect. So that one can come off as well. course, the operating budgets and that's another P for me, another process, the budget aspect of things. And as I mentioned, when we flip over into page 30, all of the intergovernmental agreements for me are priorities. But that, like I say, these are just my personal opinions. And I believe the last item on that page, CC 25-39 to direct admin to schedule and advertise the public hearing on February 27th. That is done, I'm assuming, so that can come off as well. So that's another one to get rid of. Level of service discussions, all in there. I'm just going through the next page, 31. There's more intergovernmental relations there, for agreements and funding and whatnot, that I recommend are, my personal opinion, are priorities. The last one, on that page to authorize, CAO back to brief Counselor Gerlach on the closed session items. Is that done?
It is not done.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right, and Mr. Gerlach, do you require an update or can we remove that and rescind it? Okay, do we need to put a motion to remove it, or we can just be happy that it's done? Do we need a motion to rescind that?
I don't know how you're doing the rest of them, Mr. Chairman. Are you making them? Why don't you make one motion at the end to rescind all that you discussed at the meeting?
Well, I would love to, but last time we grouped it, we ended up,
Okay,
and so that's why I'm
then
thinking.
it's
pass
up
them if we will.
to council or committee.
I'm just about done, so
Well, I guess are we okay with just removing that one?
I'm fine with it. I just don't know if it needed to be
Everybody
formalized.
else is okay? Okay, I'll just continue on.
Okay. The last one, page 32, and that's what we're referring to, are water rates. It doesn't have a resolution number. It's the second one from the bottom. That one is definitely my number one priority. And I believe on page 33, oh, pardon me, there's one more here. The last one on page 32, I'm thinking that as also could be, I'm curious, it's a conversation if that could be rescinded because we get those in our monthly reports, but I think we'll leave that for another day. Page 33 in the meeting calendars, there's no resolution number next to it. I just wanted to give an update that March 6th for the town is probably not going to happen, being that there is an Alberta Muni conference type caucus meeting on the 6th and the 7th. So again, there's no resolution. It's just for information. And I'm done.
Which one is that? The one that's 33? Oh, okay.
Second one from the bottom on page 33 that had been proposed to the town of Athabasca March 6th. Pardon me, I don't have my mic on. That had been proposed to the town of Athabasca March 6th as a date for the Athabasca County and Town Intermunicipal Committee meeting. Being that there is the Muni conference, I think it's a caucus type conference. I'm not exactly sure what they call it, but it's on 6th and 7th. I'm assuming that they will be available.
So could, do you have any reason, Counselor Hall, that we can't remove this one? And look at what administration was saying, our CAO was saying he'll check with the town and see when we could meet.
There's, I think the spirit of that motion was to arrange a meeting time and we just proposed that as a date, so I think it's something needs to be on there, just pick a date and let's get a meeting set up.
Okay, well, we won't remove it then. Okay, I think the ones that I had actually to talk about, I think we just did. So anybody else got any? Okay, so, do we need a motion? Oh, Counselor Anderson.
Thank you. Would it be possible through the chair to administration to request that the strategic plan progress priorities document that was included in our what agenda package is this? June 27th county council meeting agenda package just be re-emailed to all the counselors so we can have another look at that before our next cow meeting on our own. Just so we have a clean copy to kind of look at, and jot down. Thanks.
And I'm assuming that relates to CC 295. Oh, sorry, page 27. Second one up. Thank you.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that or just administration is gonna do it? Okay, any other discussion? Doesn't look like it, so we will. Everybody's on the understanding there. We'll move on to CAO update. We have, I guess is there any questions to the CAO?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
got one. I just see in the meetings there met with Blue Heron and I'm assuming that's over agreements, that type of thing. Sorry, you met with Blue Heron and I'm assuming that's over agreements, that type of thing.
Yes, one of the members of the Blue Heron Association just came in and had some requests.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions to the CAO? Looks like mine is just a comment there. Looks like we got a project manager for the water line, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
Mr. Chairman, we have an agreement, I think today. So,
Oh, perfect.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I guess we'll move on to department updates. First one being corporate services department update. Any discussion? Reeve Holland.
Thank you so much. Just a quick notation. I know it's probably just a correction that minor correction, but I'm assuming this is for January, not December. Right. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that that's clarified. With regards to what I've been noticing throughout here, monitors and chairing and chairs and whatnot, it's really nice to see that ergonomics are being looked at. So thank you very much for that. That's hugely important for staff for their long days. I also noticed as well the mental health first aid certification that's going around. That's another really great initiative and project that was taken on, and I appreciate seeing those things and the betterment of staff. That's fantastic. The one thing I noticed under communications, I think it's great. There was a nice update on the website with regards to enforcement services. But I noticed the phone number for complaints was removed and a online form is that the best choice then for people to submit complaints now rather than phone, is to do an online form?
I believe the dispatch number should still be on the website. It's just that it wasn't being directed to the front office. So now it's just going more direct towards enforcement services, from my understanding. I can double check that for you though.
Okay, so is it supposed to go to the main line, the calls? And my question is because some people don't have internet,
Right.
are they, those types of things?
I'm gonna look into that and get back to you.
I appreciate it. No, thank you very much. And if I may just carry on, and again, health and safety, I highlighted the ergonomics, so I think that's fantastic. The community hall, first aid, mental health training, just going through my notes here. I think, I think that's absolutely all I had for mentioning. So thanks again for the report. It's really appreciated to be able to follow along and know what's happening. So thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else with any questions? Counselor Anderson?
Thank you. On page 37, under communications, it says updated the intermunicipal collaboration framework webpage with the new agreement, the Summer Village of Bondis. Which new agreement did we sign with Summer Village of Bondis, or is this just an older one?
I was just sent a document and I uploaded it. I don't know how recent it was.
Do it.
I believe, as chairman, all there was we didn't have it listed on our ICFs on the webpage, but we had all the agreements. I think that's all it was. So we didn't do a new one.
Yeah.
It was just missing off our webpage.
I apologize. My phrasing on that was probably incorrect then.
Okay, perfect. Updating information. Go ahead.
Thank you. And on page 39, it says that we were awarded $600,000 for an Alberta Community Partnership grant. I'm just wondering some more details about that grant. What did we apply for? Or what project are we using it towards?
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, that was actually for the Highway 63 services, the $600,000 between September 2024 and August 2026. And part of that agreement is to have a cost sharing agreement with our neighbors for those services.
Oh, perfect. Right on. Betcha. Reed Holland.
Thank you. Sorry, just one more quick question. Under communications, the finalizing the draft of the communication strategic plan is so awesome to hear. Do you have an ETA on that?
Mr. Chairman, members of council committee, Jordan and I have just in the very final stages of completing it. And the next step is to share it with CO Beck, and then it'll come to council for review.
Fantastic. Thank you again for doing that work. It's so very important. So thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other hands up or anything like that, thank you very much for the report. We will move on. We will move on to Infrastructure Services Department. And we are going to run the gauntlet with everybody get their bats out. So yeah. Councillor Chamzik.
First of all, welcome. I just want to make a couple comments. It's great to see so much going around the county and seeing Bridge Culvert 77410 being approved for STIP funding. Really awesome to see that. I see Public Works busy with heavy light brushing, plowing and maintenance, and it's just great to see. So thank you.
Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to our new director, welcome. To you guys behind you, thank you for keeping the ship afloat. We appreciate it. Great to see that new sign being put up. However, the one issue that I have currently up in Wandering River are when the grader is doing the town site versus the snow plow. And when our plows come into the town site, all of our fire hydrants are now inaccessible. I think there's one that you can get to. And even though we do not have a fire pump in the town site, that is still a requirement because they can fill up a porta tank and they can be used for fire protection. And I've noticed that they are no longer accessible.
Mr. Chairman, we're happy to follow up on that. We'll fix it.
Have a look at that. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, perfect. Any Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. On page 44, it was noted that the Collington truck fill has been fully rebuilt with stainless steel piping, new valves. And I'm just kind of wondering if it'd be possible to better advertise when projects like this are undertaken. I think it's an incredible project. It's a great investment in our infrastructure and probably something that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily see that we've done, but it does benefit our residents. And so I just think that it'd be nice to see that it's a win for the county. I think it's a great win, and I just want to draw more attention to it and see how we can draw more attention to projects like that so that our residents know all these smaller projects that do make a positive change.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's a great idea. We really don't celebrate the good work that does happen. Maybe we'll take that away and we'll see if we can, instead of always bad news, maybe we'll publicize some good news. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. It's to show people that we're actually, moving forward in some of our operations and stuff like that, right? Just to enhancing the operation, which is perfect. So, okay. Any follow-up? No. Any other questions? Looks looks like, one question I have, looks like we're having a little trouble with Finning and Deere with some of their warranty stuff. Is it becoming an issue? It's good now? Yeah, okay, well, that's good. Okay, I know we used to have to rattle the fences every once in a while ourselves to wake them up and that. Okay, perfect. Good job. Maybe at RMA, we can rattle a couple of fences too, so. You betcha. No, everything looks good on my end. Again, water, getting people in. Getting our project manager on board. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that. Looking forward to a meeting one day. Go ahead, Councillor Holland.
Thank you so much. It's just for I'm curious, what does the acronym ESA stand for? It's on page 44, phase 1 ESA for possible landfills. I just didn't know what the acronym meant. Thank you.
Love acronyms. So, okay, any other questions? All I can say is great work out there. Things are going good. So, as far as I can see, so. New county trucks are very nice. The only thing they're not red. Just want to reiterate that again. Okay, we'll move on to Director Wilkinson, Community and Protective Services. Okay. Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your report. My one bit of concern, like an email with CAO here of a recent, when you come into Wandering River and you turn along the gas stations, we have 2 lanes that come in and 1 lane that comes out of town. One of those 2 lanes is used for commercial parking. We've had a big issue with semi trucks parking in the 1 lane going out of town, completely bottlenecking that entire road. This is huge going into the nighttime and early morning when you can have, I've counted 8 or more vehicles parked with drivers sleeping on the wrong side of the road, blocking off access to the town. So it would be nice if we can get a few more early morning and later in the day, make patrols from our bylaw or try and curb some of that problem. Otherwise, appreciate everything you and your staff are doing.
Is just to follow up on that, is the no parking sign still prevalent there?
They are still up and all current in the proper place. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Review. Okay.
Just a
Councillor
comment on enforcement services as well. I have received people saying that there's speeding in the area of Grassland. I just want to say good job to the CPOs and enforcement services being out there. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you so much. I'd like to piggyback off of that one. I was just curious and those digital signs that tell you this is how fast you're going? Is that exist out there?
We do have them, but there is Alberta traffic safety laws that I think that enforcement services have to abide by with those signs.
So are we able to use them? No, yes, no? How
think
fast you're going?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, from past experience, and I won't speak to here, on highways, we can get temporary approvals to use the speed signs, I believe. I don't even know if we have them, but if we do, we can use them for temporary periods. But not on the highway, maybe in the hamlets where a highway goes through. So there are certain locations on our roads, we're allowed to use them whatever you want. But on any provincial highways, there are rules around.
Okay. I just wondered if it might be a tool that would help try and make people realize you're going through a hamlet, you're going through a school zone. It's sometimes, I know when people see it, how fast you're going, they tend, just wondering if it's a safety measure.
If you don't mind, I know in the past, years and years ago, I believe that there was some issues with that, with I don't remember if it was the fire department or whatever that brought them out, but there was issues with that signs in that area. But I mean, you know what, things have changed and maybe legislation has changed too, and I could be very wrong, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, if it's, you know, a tool that can be used to help, for safety reasons, I think that would be great. And if I may just follow up on a few other things. One thing I was wondering about with regards to economic development and with regards to the microsite as well as the social impact lab and where the social impact lab discussion was going from tri-council. And I was just wondering if those two types of things are collaborating together. It almost seems like that's what the microsite is kind of doing, but then the social lab is doing kiosk type ideas. So we're just wondering if that's a collaboration that is being taken place.
The social lab is a whole different exercise driven by the province, I believe. So, not really. You know, the microsite is something we've undertaken with our new website. And, you know, I think council's going to be really happy with the outcome there. And then social lab piece, you know, we're just part of the process.
Okay, just as we had a tri-council meeting here the other day, and it seemed that they were looking for more information to add to their kiosks from the county side of things. That's why I was just wondering if.
Well, our ECDEV coordinator has been part of that process. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Community transportation, and it mentions, and thanks again for tracking all of those trips, and it's such a well-utilized service. It mentions the usage of the trips being, you know, how many in the county, the town and the village, but are kilometers per municipality also being tracked?
As of February 1st, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, thank you. That's all I have. And thanks again for all of the stats and statistics and everything that's going on here, and very much appreciated. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. It says that they're working on the extension of the 2023 NRED grant program. And I was just wondering, was that microsite included in part of that 2023 program? So that's an extension there. And by extending the 2023 grant application, will that potentially limit Athabasca County's ability to be awarded that grant in 2025? Like, do you have to spend the money for 1 year before you can move on with further applications, or?
I'm not sure, but I can find out.
Thank you. And then my other question related to page 47 was the contract with Freshet Creative. When does that contract expire, or when is that open again?
I think April. Well, we were on a 2-year, so yeah.
Councillor Gerlach. Oh. I can come back.
Right now, there's I don't know, a 30-foot diesel pusher or whatever you call it, parked in a residential lot in town. The bumper is about 1.5 feet off the street. And they got a wood stove in there and somebody's living in it. And is that something that's allowable under our bylaws?
It's on our radar, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, yep, Councillor Anderson.
Thanks. Further to my comments earlier about celebrating our wins and our successes, I just want to point out that the Deputy Minister of Children and Family Services visited our office. Like,
Yeah,
that's an
that's right.
incredible
That's
thing.
right.
And I hope that we can celebrate things like that more often, because that is incredible. The work that the FCSS team does over there is great, and it's great that they're being noticed.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because I was reading that too, and I thought, holy man, you don't usually get a deputy minister coming in. So when you do, it's awesome. So that means some great work is going on over there. So yes, celebration on that too. Any other questions? Nope, doesn't look like it. So we'll move on to councillor updates. Let's, Councillor Hall, do you want to start us off?
My updates are contained in the reports I've submitted to council.
Okay. So I guess we'll go to Councillor Cromwell. Do you want to?
Well, I guess the highlight of my conversation is gonna be the tremendous amount of happy people in and around the Wandering River area for the approval of that sign. The messages and phone calls and text messages were aplenty. And it is a great feeling knowing that we actually got something right that matters to the people out there. That was huge. Otherwise, the forces in the far Arctic region of our county are continuing to push on. We have not frozen yet. And that's about it. It's been pretty quiet and happy up there. Regular complaints as always about whenever we get a snow plow, and continue to get complaints about the condition of the Plamondon connector and how quickly that road deteriorates. No matter whether it be the day that it gets its regular bit of attention or not, that road is a continued pain and in my backside. And that'll be about it for today.
Okay. Councillor Gerlach.
I think probably the main thing that people appreciate right now is the performance of the new grader operator that we have in the area. And I don't like to suggest that the previous operator had far less experience, and this individual is doing now has far more experience, and it shows. And I don't want to devalue the person that was there before, because they just don't have the kind of experience that other people have. And it has not gone unnoticed, and people are very appreciative of it.
It is always nice to hire a seasoned operator. I know that very well. So, Councillor Anderson.
Thanks. I submitted reports about the recent items happening at the Athabasca Regional Multiplex and Pembina Zone to council for their consideration. Other than that, I've been focusing a lot on a couple different RMA committees that I've been appointed to. And looking forward to the Village of Boyle, Athabasca County intermunicipal meeting.
Collaboration.
But council's given us some feedback to take back to that meeting next week. So that should be an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Charles.
Not a lot has happened in the last 3 weeks, except for we had the Celebrating Rural Women's Conference, formerly Farm Women's. Our event was held on the 6th of February. Congratulations to Oglesworn and Diane Cleveley for Pioneer and Modern Women's Awards. We're looking forward to starting the process of planning. I just want to make a point of saying what a great committee it is to work with, and the county staff just to make all that magic happen. Other than that, regular meetings with Northern Lights, FCSS libraries. I have tonight. We also attended the Tri-Council in the community. Grassland Egg Society had their annual volunteer appreciation dinner. It's all for all different nonprofits in the area, like Parent Council, even CrossFita and AppMare, but most notable, the Grassland Fire Department member with over 40 years of history and being a member of that department was recognized. Other notable events to shake things up this year for Atmore for the Hoofathon that comes up in May, which has been like a long-standing event. There will not be a ride this year, but they will be still hosting a dance and entertainment. I believe it'll still be happening May 3rd. And other than that, for residential feedback, questions on when water will be coming back. And other than that, accolades to the roads. And that's all I have.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Reeve Holland.
Thank you very much. Same thing, 3 weeks has been busy. So besides the regular duties that we all have and some of the others, pardon me, in the committees, I did want to mention the Rural Women's Conference was well done, well attended. People were very happy with the whole day. There were smiles and laughter throughout. I probably would think a lot of it was our wonderful MC, Mayor Durko. He was absolutely a hit with many people and brought a lot of smiles and laughter to the floor. He was excellent. There were great speakers as well, and the information that was shared, everyone went away with something. So it was fantastic, and a big congratulations. Our Modern Farm Woman of the Year, and I'm probably gonna not get her last name correct, but you can correct me, Darlene Clevey.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So it was a fantastic day. It was well done by all. After that day, I had to skip out a little bit earlier. I had a meeting with Miss Margaret Anderson at the archives. And what that's all about was to do some searching on their historical photos for an interpretive sign that's going to be hopefully installed in Collinton, hopefully this year, hopefully this summer. And it was pretty neat to go back through all of those historical photos back through from World War I right on through. So it was pretty cool. Also was had the honor of presenting Miss Shirley Berzowski, her 95th birthday plaque, and there was a huge celebration that the family put on for that. So it was a fantastic day and an afternoon to celebrate a fantastic lady who has spent many, many, many years in our community. Of course, we mentioned Tri-Council. We had county council and tri-council the same day. I don't know if I would do that again. That was an extremely long day. But tri-council was filled up with updates, of course, from the town and the village on, everything from heliports. We discussed funding. We discussed funding agreements, clarification on municipality invoicing and whatnot. So I thought it was very productive there. And of course, I continue with many phone calls. There's resident meetings that have been taking place or taking part in. As well as different trail groups and those discussions. I think we've all heard there's some concerned citizens with regards to the reclamation that is legislated that needs to take place over in the lake country of the Boyle area. And so trail groups and whatnot are trying to figure that out. Fielding complaints as well, but also receiving many compliments as well with roads in the area. People are really happy to see that those great big Greater Banks are winged right back and they're happening on a regular. So that's excellent. Trail committee work continues. Like I say, there's been quite a bit going on with the Athabasca Landing Trail, revisiting the master plan, revisiting a brand new website that's coming up, as well as meeting, like I mentioned, a few more trail groups that have interest in the area, such as Trails for Tomorrow, as well as snowmobile groups. And that's pretty much about it. Everything is pretty much, well, it stays busy.
I totally have to agree with you there regarding, thank you for that report regarding busy, lots of meetings on my end. Just a couple of them to go through. Athabasca Regional Waste, we had a meeting on February 10th. Everything's going good there. EPR is helping us very much with financials just due to the fact that there's going to be some influx of money regarding the EPR, and which will help us out in the long end. Lot of agreements to go through regarding the EPR, some insurance issues and stuff like that, but our commission managers and CEO is working very hard and fine with that. He is on the committee, so it's very helpful. Going through a new employee policy handbook, they're going to be doing their own payroll, as I mentioned before. So there's going to be some new policies and that being brought forward. Yeah, all in all, it was a good meeting. And then moving on to had an Alice meeting the other day on February 12th. And it was more of a procedural meeting that we went through there. We looked at one updated project, but other than that, it was terms of reference review, project parameters, guideline review. Had a presentation from Athabasca Watershed Council, very good. National update from Alice and project prioritization, how to make it easier to, we're getting, which is great news. another thing to celebrate would be we're getting lots of projects coming in. And so on the advertising and everything, is the word's getting around for sure from everything. And so we needed to come up with a little bit easier way to prioritize these projects. So when we go in there, we're not there till 6 o'clock at night. So that went very good. And yeah, other than that, that was, oh, and then and it should be coming out on the website if it's not there already. If it is, thank you very much. There's an environmental farm plan workshop here in Athabasca, being held on the 26th. And that's more of an ASB thing, but our coordinator gave me this to make sure the news gets out. A lot of these funding plans and that through the government, and you have to have an EFP, environmental farm plan, to be able to get the funding, like for SCAP funding, RELP, OFEP, which I have no idea what that is, but they will. There's lots of this funding that you need this farm plan. So if you know of anybody that just spread the word about this workshop. They have to register by February 24th and that. So hopefully that gets visited lots. I had the other thing is and it's not through council, but I had a gun club meeting the other day on February 13th. And it's the AGM out there at the trap range. And just wanted to bring it up that it's a very well-run organization. We have there's day passes to go to the gun range for sighting in, stuff like that. Just a little promotion there to help it out. Same as the trap range. They're open from May till usually just about October, depending on the weather. And it's another good outing that it's like going for a round of golf. So yeah, other than that, I think everything else has been going good.
I'd just like to mention, I so appreciate, so many of your committees being very active, seeing them at lots of different events. I am going to tell you, Alice will also be attending the March 21st Grassland Egg Fair as well, if anybody would like more information.
Perfect. Bet you there. It is a very, it's a great committee. So I guess on that note, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. I only had one comment originally. Now I have two. I appreciate that, Chair. Every good rural municipality should endorse its local gun club. But the one announcement I failed to bring up is I would like to welcome Tucker J. He is, I'm not giving the full last name. He is one of our newest residents in the county, born on Valentine's Day. So great to have our community growing one person at a time.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's pretty well done, the roundtable discussion. So now we'll go on to business arising 7.1 and welcome Chief Chalapai.
Thank you, Councillor Mins, for having me here today. So coming back from our previous county council meeting, there was some direction for us to go back and draft the cost recovery policy. In doing so, we've kind of opened up a bigger can of worms per se, in terms of looking for council's direction in what we desire in a policy. So we've done some surveying through other municipalities, and there's everything from total cost recoveries. Some don't bill at all. So basically the cost of fire suppression is eaten up or part of the operating budget. Parkland County just rolled out a new policy where they do have a bit of a partial billing. So for us, we have kind of several standing questions that we need a little bit of direction on prior to being able to fully move forward on motion 24-546.
Okay, so we want to have a little discussion on this. What is that what you're looking for? Is there a little feedback or?
Correct. I'm looking for some feedback from council on, I guess, breaking it down. What are we looking for in terms of cost recovery? Does council wish to pursue a more robust cost recovery where we're trying to fully recover the cost of providing service, keeping in mind budget pays for the fire service to exist? Do we want to pursue a more of a partial recovery where we have different options? We can do a cap on expenses. So if we have a structure fire, we would recover costs up to a point. We can vary that by type of call. So really the prairie's our oyster. But what we do need to know is, I guess, first and foremost, what does council wish in terms of cost recovery? Are we looking to try and recover everything, or are we looking for more of a partial recovery?
Okay, so what does council wish for cost recovery? I guess that opens up a can of worms, and let's start it with Councillor Cromwell.
Do you want us to answer one question at a time on here or go through the answers we have written to our 5 before we begin, Chair? One at a time? All right, then I would be 101% for a partial recovery.
Partial recovery. Okay, so how, meaning partial how? Like,
Meaning that we subsidize everything in this county to one level or another. And that's why I asked if you want to go through the 5, because I kind of dumbed it down as I went through my answers in there. But we have people that have been living in this county for forever and a day. And though some may argue the taxes are not sufficient, I believe that a lot of that is. There are not many tangible things that we provide to ratepayers on a given day that they care about. They care about water, they care about road. And you could add in there that they care that their house doesn't burn to the ground. And when it does, and they're having the worst day of their life, that they don't get hit with a multi-$1,000 bill. So I believe and I'm going to go through my explanation here. I believe there should be partial cost recovery dependent on the differentiating between insured and uninsured. There should be a capped fee at no more than $5,000 for insured and $2,500 for uninsured that the resident may have to pay. I believe, yes, we have to take into account whether there is cause, care, or negligence in the resulting of. I believe that there should be a differentiating between the types of calling and compassionate grounds, absolutely, waived by council. That should come to us in the big picture. But going down to the last question, I think anything 2,500 and other can be handled by our CAO, and anything 2,501 and above would be brought to council for discussion.
okay, so that's opened up some. Anybody else have any discussion on it? Administration is looking for some.
I
Councillor
agree
Jones.
with most of it. Some of the numbers, I don't know. I think that could be a discussion with itself. But I mean, one fact that you definitely think about when these volunteers do go out, it is their time as well to going out. And it's services being provided. And I don't think that there should be a difference between different billing types as they are the volunteers going out, sometimes leaving their jobs, those types of things. That's my personal opinion, but I mean, that's what this table's for in this conversation, to be swayed as well. That's where I'll step for right now.
Okay.
Can I reply to that comment?
Yeah, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Well, I could be swayed to support a cap. I think I would have to see some data based on the last, say, 10 responses to each type of call on what the billing was on each of those. Because I just can't pull a number out of my head. I would need to actually look at what billings were to be able to see that. I also am quite opposed to a lower cap for uninsured residents. I think that that incentivizes people to not insure their property adequately. And I think we have a responsibility to ensure that we have adequate insurance on our properties. And I understand that sometimes insurance companies change your policy and it might take a little time to notice, correct, that kind of thing. But I really do think that residents bear a responsibility to ensure that they are adequately insured. And I would never want our policies to incentivize them not to carry adequate insurance. And I feel that by having a reduced amount for uninsured, that's exactly what you're doing. You're incentivizing people to not have to pay the insurance premiums because their bill's not going to be as high anyways. So quite opposed to that. As far as complete or partial cost recovery, I kind of went back and forth on that. To me, there's a difference between complete cost recovery just being the costs of the actual response versus the actual asset management of all the equipment and everything that sits in the hall. I would never get behind that. To me, the rates that we have set now are fairly adequate to recover the costs of paying the volunteers and, you know, a little bit of the overhead costs. But I would never want to get to a point where we look at it like, okay, what's the cost of replacing the fire truck for every 1,000 calls and have to factor that in? I just don't think that that is a reasonable thing to do. But I do absolutely agree with my colleagues' comments about these volunteers are giving their time, and there should be charges for that. There should be some income from that for that work that they are providing.
Perfect, Mo. Thank you. Thank you for that. Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to my peers across the table, but I take great issue in part of what is being said. And what how do I word this without getting myself into trouble? You're talking about the volunteers that are giving time. We have historically for decades been a volunteer organization. And now we're looking at a different model. And now we're saying we need to charge to make that different model work for these people that have always been volunteers. And you're now turning it in from a volunteer service here to take care of your community. You're turning it into a way to raise money and pay bills. And I want to make sure that's not how we're doing that, because I have issue with that. Second issue I have with what I heard is incentivizing people not to have insurance. Where is the incentive in losing everything you own because the world we live in is a bag of turd? And I can completely understand that some people choose to feed their children, take care of their heat, instead of being able to afford insurance. I'm not saying we're incentivizing. I'm saying we are remembering that we are human. We are remembering that not everybody has the same situation. And we're looking at it through not just one set of eyeglasses, but through two, and go, what are other issues? What are other outcomes? Because I'm telling you, it's not an incentivification to go, hey, we might cut $2,000 off your final bill after you lost your entire home and every belonging that you have, but that's our incentive for you. I'm sorry, I don't think that either I misunderstood or the words didn't come out right, but we're not incentivizing, we're taking care of.
I think on that note, it was taken out of context in a way. It's not to incentivize somebody for not taking out insurance. I feel the same way that I think we should just put a cap on it and just be done. But Councillor Gerlach.
Yeah, I think life is always full of regrets when people didn't make the right decision or made a wrong decision. And I think it's very difficult dealing with some insurance companies. Some people cannot get insurance or whatever because they're very fussy about the condition of the building and whatever. Even if your house isn't finished on the outside, the insurance company won't insure it or whatever. So some people just can't get insurance. It's very difficult. And we need to have a different rate between what we charge insurance companies. And we can't use those same rates in asking people to pick up the bill when they're not insured. And the best point I had, I forgot. One more point. Oh, it's very, very hard on people who volunteer to, as they want to help the members of their community. They're there to help. And then when they see that their efforts are being charged out at a pretty healthy rate, and the community comes together and everybody says, let's help this person out because they've lost everything. And you say, well, gee, we just about raised enough today to pay the county for the fire bill. It just doesn't sit very well. So I don't know what the solution is, but it's an uncomfortable position to be in. Okay.
Revolve.
Thanks so much. I appreciate all of the opinions at the table for sure. We're in a situation where when we refer to uninsured properties, it's a difficult discussion, and I get it. I totally understand in experiencing and the grand scheme of things, what that's all about when a lot of your neighborhood is burnt down and how many people don't have insurance. There's no mercy. There is no mercy. And it's the same if you're uninsured in your vehicle. There is no mercy and you're fined. So to expect, and it sounds callous, but to expect the taxpayer to take on someone else's risk, I don't think is fair to the rest of the taxpayer either. And I'll tell you, they're dealing with it in Jasper right now. They dealt with it in McMurray. They dealt with it in Slave Lake. It's ugly. It's ugly. And that's where the community comes together for benefits. The community comes together to have fundraising opportunities. There's Habitat for Humanity. There's all of these groups that take that on for that reason, for the people who are unable at that time or are unfortunate enough that they forgot maybe to reinstate their insurance. So it is a no mercy situation in many places, and it's unfortunate and it's awful, but people know they're taking a risk and it's a terrible position to be in. But to place that on the rest of the residents, we are looking at Jackfish Lake is a perfect example. Even though it was a wildfire and there's disaster recovery, it doesn't recover everything. So the taxpayer is taking that on already. So for me, that conversation is a difficult one. But in my own experience and seeing how that comes there, it's a difficult one. We still have costs that we need to look at, and whether there's a cap, I don't know. I would like to see what some of these bills are, and I would like to see what a cap would like to show what the difference is, to just understand it a bit better. I like how Lamont, they're on page 74. The community of Lamont, does your municipality bill for service, all fires, all of them? But I like how their bylaw is looking at when there's an accidental or non-determined fire. I like that comment that they're looking at. Again, it would be, I don't know what the cost is to investigate, to figure out if it is an accident or, it's non-determined. But I really like that aspect of it. I too complete partial. Without having figures, I really couldn't say one way or another. So I would love to, if it's possible, to put a couple of examples together just to have an idea of what that looks like and what the span is for an actual response to what a cap would look like and what the difference is and where that goes. So that not only we can see it, but the residents can see it as well. And for me, some of these things, should almost be surveyed through the community to say, hey, what are the residents willing to pay for their tax dollar? And so it's really, if we really want to take the politics out of this conversation, put it back to the people who we work for and let them make the decision to say, hey, you know what, we're willing to do this, or we're willing not to do this. And it's their tax dollars. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. I need more information to really make a concrete discussion on this one, but I really like how Lamont's doing their thing.
Okay. Councillor Anderson.
Thanks. As far as the ability to waive costs on compassionate grounds and to appeals, I think that both of those should come to council. I don't think that the CAO or any member of administration should ever be put in a position where they have to make that decision on their own. I think if somebody wants this to request that the CAO look at the billing and make sure that the invoice accurately represents the response, that's one thing. But to appeal or ask for certain costs to be waived, I think always needs to come to council, especially because that is then a subsidy on the taxpayer's dime. And I have no problem with council waiving certain costs in certain situations and looking at that. I think that we need to maintain that ability actually to be compassionate to our residents. But I would never want to see that put on administration's plate to have to make that decision. I think it needs to come here and be done in the open so that taxpayers can also see that, yeah, council did decide to waive that bill, but you can now go and view the live stream and see openly why they did it. And I think in most cases, a lot of members of the community would agree with that decision and being able to see that information.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, administration could not agree more
Yeah.
that it should not be a member of administration weighing compassionate grounds. It should be the elected officials.
I seen you waving and I figured, yeah, she hit a nerve. Councillor Hall.
Hello. I think it's pretty clear that we do provide a lot of benefits across the county to ratepayers, and it's not unreasonable in my mind that we should provide some level of subsidy on fire services. So I also support a partial cost recovery. And regarding the fixed cap, I would pose an arbitrary limit, but really, like others have said, like to see admin look at the last 10 to 20 structure fires and figure out the billing and get some data and see an administrative recommendation on what that cap might be. You know, whether it's 3,000, 5,000, 10, but to figure out a number based on some kind of data that we can back up to. You know, we've often heard in this term about wanting to treat people fair and treat people equally, and I would propose to you that it's inconsistent to charge different rates when folks have insurance or don't have insurance. Whether they have insurance or not is not really a question for us. To me, it's a question for the individual, and if we should not reward those who don't do the right thing for whatever reason. It should just be across the board. Everybody should get a uniform benefit, very much like we've done with snow plowing. Whether you've got a mountain of cash in the bank or virtually none, we charge the same rate on that, and I think we should do the same here. Whether I would also support some kind of administrative recommendation that would impact how we charge based on cause. If you've ignored a fire ban or a fire permit, I think the circumstance is different than if there's an accidental cause, or for that matter, if there's a fire that shows up on your land through some cause that is not related to the homeowner, like trespassers on quads or cigarette butts out the window. I think those are different circumstances than homeowner caused or resident caused fires. And then on the differentiation between call types, I don't know, and I would look to administration for an example there, or some advice, in my opinion. I also agree that appeals should come to council, like with the exception of maybe an administrative review of is the billing reasonable? I think that can go straight to administration to make sure, does this billing make sense, and has the process been applied uniformly? I think admin can handle that, but appeals beyond that should come to council. And then the last question I had is a question for administration. Can you provide us an example of what compassionate grounds would be? Because it seems to me that pretty well every fire that results in billing is some kind of tragedy. And so I guess I just would like to know what do you have in mind when you say compassionate grounds?
Through the chair to Councillor Hall, our intent with the compassionate grounds was a situation where an individual doesn't have the means to pay the bill, in which case normally the cost would be levied against the property. So if an individual does not have the financial means to pay said bill, that would be a compassionate grounds approach to council.
Okay, that sounds good. I honestly agree with what's pretty well being said around the table. I think there should be a cap put on there. We could look at a cap and get some information back from administration on how it works. What it's been looked like in the last however many fire calls. I don't think we're actually charging out for cost recovery. I don't think we are.
Councillor Mins, at this point, no, we're not recovering full cost. In 2023, when we passed our new fire services bylaw, we actually reduced our fire rates. We had a flat rate of $400 per vehicle for every vehicle that went out the door. We've dropped that down. So when a brush truck goes out, it's $250 or $300 now. Fire engines are at $400, but some of the supplemental vehicles that we lowered those costs down. For an information side, most insurance policies we found that in folks that do have insurance, it's a $10,000 cap on most policies. And we found that with our rate scheme as it is right now, we seldom break the $10,000 cap on a structure fire. In the last year, we've had everything from a $2,500 response to $9,000. What really haunts us and is a real tough metric is our wildland calls, because I can say in the last 2 years, they've ranged from, a few $1,000s to 4.6 million. So that's a much bigger issue for us to try and pull that on, but structure fires is easy, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. Administratively, we do review every call. Based on the fleet that we have right now, a lot of our fire engines only see 2 firefighters, which a fire engine, usually you want manpower. So we're seeing more trucks go to a call than are required. And on the administrative level, because that's a fleet issue, not a ratepayer issue, we already will review and remove any apparatus that wasn't required in that response. So we are already doing a lot of work on our side, trying to make sure that we're being very fair and reasonable.
Thank you for that, because I figured we were. I figured you guys were, because we used to do it all the time also, right? So that's very good for people to know that with that understanding. So thank you for that, and the amount that it's costing us to go out, you betcha. Thank you very much. Councillor Chamzik.
In my notes, I did actually have that marked down, that I believed it was 10,000 when I reviewed my insurance. And I think it's great that you guys have that administration oversight to be able to decide whatever apparatus you feel is adequate that's there. But my question is that do we, when these circumstances happen, whether you call it compassionate grounds or not, do we have payment plans options available for those residents?
Through the chair to Councillor Chamzik, we haven't really explored the compassionate grounds at this point. This is something that would be looking for new. Historically, they've all been coming to council as appeals to the bills. This isn't something that we have built in the process yet, and I can let CO Beck speak to this more, but I don't believe we have any sort of payment plans options set up for any of our bills. For us in the fire service, we do have 120 days to pay, and then it does roll onto land taxes, which then is recovered through tax payments. So
Thank you so very much.
Okay, so on that, I think we're sitting here right now where it's being asked to go back and come up with some better understanding on how much possibly a cap would be by doing look through the last 10 or 15 responses to a structural fire and come back with them costs. Is that what we're looking at? Go ahead.
Well, I think it should be 10 or 15 responses to each type of incident response, because then we can see if it's reasonable to have the same cap for a structure fire as a vehicle incident or a wildland fire, what it may be. But I think we need to look at all of the different categories and then decide if we want to differentiate between a category or if we want to keep them all the same.
Okay, I don't know about the wildland fire thing. There's a huge response there. That's big. I think maybe on a vehicle and myself, I think maybe on a vehicle and a structure possibly, but wildland firefighting that's a whole different fire in itself. So, but how does everybody feel about that? For administration to come back with. Go ahead.
Is that quite a bit of work for you to be able to gather?
Through the chair to Councillor Chamsick, yeah, it would be, it's not a insurmountable task, but it would be a lot of manual collating of the data. We haven't quite rolled out our electronic records management system yet, so a lot of things are still paper-based, but it's not something that we can't do. It'll just take a little bit of time.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm okay with not stipulating that it has to be 10 or 15 as well. Like, I can leave that in administration's hands, and if they look it up and say, here's 3 examples, or, you know, this is what they think is reasonable for us to be able to make an informed decision, I would be okay with that. Like,
And I guess with thanks. I guess we already know that a lot of caps on insurance plans are 10,000, right? So do we do that way?
Councillor Mins, that's correct. On structure fires, most are 10,000. What a lot of folks don't realize is, and I learned when I lost my insurance policy as a result of a fire bill in 2023. On the wildland side of things, it's actually additional insurance that you can add on after the fact that can add up to $500,000, but that is a additional rider you have to add to your policy. But in terms of structure fires, 10,000 seems to be the consistent cap across the board with most insurance companies. We can go back and look into vehicle fires and equipment fires because I'm not entirely sure what the cap would be on those. But structure fires, it is certainly 10,000.
Okay, Councillor Hall.
I just wanted to reiterate, I think some level of data and administrative recommendation based on actual data would be really beneficial for us and help guide us in making a decision. And also the comments of the last 60 seconds make me think that this is an opportunity for us to share information with ratepayers in the county through our regular communications, whether it's in the tax notice or the other. But just that reminder that to look at their policies and make sure that they're covered, because I would guess, you know, we're not in an urban municipality. Things like wildland fires are going to be a big part of could be a big part of the calls we get. And just that reminder for people that make sure you check your policy and add the riders you need to as part of our public education.
Okay. Okay, once more. Councillor
I agree
Chamsick.
with that, Councillor Hall. I'm really hoping that things like this will be part of our communication strategy in the future.
So does administration have an idea where they're going, or?
Councillor Mins, we have a good direction here. So we will take this back. We will come back with some recommendations on a cap based on some data. We'll bring the data forward as well so that everyone can review that. We'll also come back with a recommendation, you know, maybe on causation impacts on billing.
Okay, and that'll be to a future committee of the whole meeting?
Correct.
Gotcha. We don't need to put a date on it or not. Oh, just wait. Councillor Gerlach, you want to say something?
Yeah. Something I want to point out.
Oh, the mic.
I just want to point out that I forgot to turn on my mic. We have about $1 billion in assessment for residential in the county and a 4-point-something mill rate, which means that it raises a little over $4 million a year in taxation. That $4 million does not go anywhere in providing the level of service that people get. We are fortunate enough to have resources and whatever that we're able to tax and whatever, and spread some of that money around to our residents. And I think that compassion should be one of the first priorities that we have in dealing with our public, is to try and deal with things in a compassionate manner and not be as hard-assed as as some choose to be and say, we're riding on the backs of other taxpayers. We're a community that should care for each other, and I certainly don't have any objection of showing compassion with my tax dollars, as vast as they are, to sharing that with people who have maybe made some bad decisions and whatever. I might as well quit there before I get too confused.
But I guess I kind of agree with you, but there we are again. They're still able to, even if we pass a cap or whatever like that, and this doesn't happen, they are still able to come back to council and say, hey, you got some compassion for us, and then we can look at it, eh? You know, again, I totally agree with Councillor Anderson there. It should never be put on administration to say yay or nay, whether we who can strike off a bill. That should be up to council. So yeah. Okay. Right on. Thank you very much for bringing this forward, and look forward to seeing the next one.
Thank you, Councillor Mintz.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, anybody need a break? No? Okay, let's go for 7 minutes. Snowmobile Trail. Looks like we got some information on that. I guess, pass the following motion. Moved by Councillor Wallach to improve the trail base, or on a trial base. Proposed road subject to approval from Alberta Transportation Economic Corridors, and the Alberta Snowmobile Association has permission to run on provincials 1, 2, and 3 digit highway right of ways. So now we're gonna have a discussion. So where do we go from here? Why is everybody looking at me? So, what's that?
You want me to start?
Sure, please.
Thank you. Does administration have any comments or want to weigh in before I ask a whole pile of questions?
Mr. Chairman, not really. It's in the RFD. We just noted in our research that other places have an agreement. So we probably need an agreement with the club as to liability, insurance, that sort of thing. Maintenance, usage, restrictions. And the other question is, does council desire some sort of communication from the club with residents before it's started? Those are the two areas that.
Okay, thank you. So I spent quite a bit of time looking, because trails, I love trails. And I definitely want people to know and understand that the Great Canadian Snowmobile Trail is an incredible undertaking and is a great asset through our whole country. And so I'm definitely very much interested in seeing it develop. But I do have, of course, a few concerns with regards to the trail management plan and it's in draft, it's a draft format. So, and one of the things that and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked to me like the spirit of it was also to provide an opportunity, and I'm just reading from the document, for collaboration between Forestry and Parks, Transportation and Economic Corridors, the Alberta Snowmobile Association, and other stakeholders during this planning process. So in the planning process is what I believe is where we're sitting at right now. I know that, and I sent it to council, a request for a letter of support is still on the table. I assume would be coming up to a council meeting. But I guess more than anything, when I looked through part of this, I thought to myself, again, and I mentioned it earlier today when we were talking about the fire subject, is to take the politics out of this and put it back to the residents. So it's up to them what they really want. We can't really go ahead and say, hey, because of course this affects 2 divisions. I believe, I don't think there's any more divisions and impacts, but 2 divisions, 5 and 8. So it
And into 3.
and into 3 as well?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yes, it would. Thank you very much. So for everybody to really understand the depth of it all and for, people to make that decision, I think it needs to go back to the public to have that conversation. I would really like to see that the county send out a communications document to let the residents on the route know what's happening, what's coming down. I had heard comments back from the last time that we had this conversation in September of 23. They didn't know anything about it. And so they didn't get an opportunity to weigh in whether they were for or against. And I think it's very important that we encompass that and give that fairness back to the residents. So that's one thing I would like to see as a recommendation to council, that we definitely postpone, I guess you could say, this draft until we've had that mail out to all the affected residents along the proposed route. And in addition to that, of course, I would love to see the Snowmobile Club also do a public engagement and bring that back. And maybe the mail out will be helpful to them as well, to be able to reach out and, have people be able to reach out to them. So it's kind of how I looked at it there. And then when I was going through the RFD, I did see that, as you mentioned, the county will require an agreement with the Snowmobile Club. So depending on how things go, I would hope that we as a council would agree that we would follow the guidelines that the Public Land Act follows, as well as for the trail management plan. So that's uniform all the way across throughout from one side to the other, rather than having 2 different rules depending on which jurisdiction that they're in. So there's a couple of things, and that's a huge job. It's not something that just happens overnight for agreements and whatnot. It's a conversation that needs to take place for sure. And then as the second one is, we mentioned the mail out for the public engagement for sure, for the second question to administration. Now going forward and dissecting the trail management plan, there was a few things that popped up that I think that residents definitely need to know when it comes to the restrictions on the trail. And I believe that was on page 107, and because I was going through them again last night before the meeting and realizing that that would definitely impact the enjoyment of residents in this location, because it mentions on page 107 under the trail classification and the activity type, what the permitted uses are, should this trail be designated, and it removes any pedestrian use. It removes any horse, so includes saddle and pack endurance riding. And we're in a farming location here where people actually do use their horses for rounding up cattle, not to mention for their own enjoyment. It also restricts the horse-drawn vehicles, covered wagons, et cetera, that I don't know if there's much of that going through our ditches, but there's definitely horseback going through. It also restricts any kind of cycling, leisure cycling, mountain biking, which some do have those winter tires. I'm not saying that it's a big thing, but it's just, we need to be aware. You can't cross-country ski. You won't be able to snowshoe. You won't be able to have your dog sleds. And all those other types of items. So people need to be able to have that opportunity to weigh in and say, hey, we do those things now, and to remove that from something that I've been able to do, I don't think that they should be able to have that opportunity to say yes or no on that. I went through this, notice that the 3-digit highways are not mentioned, which is part of our motion. So I don't know if that's something that will be coming up in the next draft, or if we are even going to be able to have an opportunity to have that conversation, to sit down with Forestry and Parks and the Snowmobile Club and kind of go through this. They mentioned in here as well that there wasn't any other regional plans for any kind of trails. And I disagree with that, because Lac La Biche County has an intermunicipal trails plan that they released back in December of 2023. And it is very much the same type of connectivity that this is looking to. Lac La Biche is trying to do the same thing. And what this trail does is it limits our hamlet grassland. Whereas if we considered what this intermunicipal plan was looking at, as well as another concept that was presented back in Tri-Council, that we could actually expand this in a way that would capture a bit more in the county, keep it off of roadways and put it back on Crown land. So it then takes a little bit more of that liability off of the municipality and puts it into the Crown land in the province. So I think there's other options, especially considering when I was reading about the ministerial orders, as they mentioned, 734, the highway 734, which is actually a forestry trunk road down in the Rockies, that the ministerial order can be canceled at any time. And that worried me for the stability of the actual trail. If they're able to take a designation away when they wish, it makes it pretty, and a ministerial order isn't required in public land. It's required in the ditches. So that kind of concerned me for the stability and the ongoing connectivity of the Great Canadian Snowmobile Trail. Is there a plan B? And so there's a few things that I definitely would like to be able to talk about. They also mentioned, for example, are there any problem vegetation or weeds or invasive species on or near the trail? Well, tansy sticks up out of that snow, whether you like it or not. And they mentioned no, but it definitely is there. So I think there's a few more things that need to be hammered out with regards to the draft plan that I would love to be able to have that opportunity to talk about. I could go through it. I've got several notes, but I would take up a ton of your time. They mentioned, for example, on page 104, some minor hand shovel and tool work along private fence lines, mostly in the vicinity of the clubhouse by Athabasca along Township Road 660. So I'm wondering, okay, what kind of agreements are going to be needed with landowners for them to be messing around with their fences? And then it goes End Range Road 205. Well, 205 isn't any part of this plan. So I don't know if that's a typo, if they meant 204, I really don't know. but it's things that we really need to look at. I don't recall in the presentation mentioning Forest Road north of 55, but that's something that's been added here, which brings up another concern, because when you look at the trail going from we're gonna say 204 and head west on 660 to 827, then when you get to the intersection of 55, you can either choose to go east or west. And they really want people to head up to Jackfish Lake trails, which is great. So you would need to go east on 55 to get to 213. Well, I can see a lot of people saying, nah, we're not going to go all that way. We can just shoot up the road on 214, cross 55 and get onto 213. So there's a few things that I would really like for the opportunity to speak with parks and forestry and parks, and just get to understand more about the draft. I get it. It needs to happen. May of 2022 is when these trail management plans were required for any kind of trail designation. And so these are kind of new for everybody. And I would just love to have that opportunity to not only speak with the public, but to just hammer out a few more of these details that are in here to understand them better and get those questions answered that I don't think that we're able to answer here, if I'm not mistaken. No, we can't speak on behalf of Forestry and Parks. So, so this is where I kind of sit. You know, if there's worthy of putting a recommendation out to council, it would be just to postpone a little bit, slow it down a little bit, make sure we're doing all the right things. So it would be to put out a mail out to our affected residents in a communication, get some public engagement going with the snowmobile club, and be able to talk about this plan that they've asked us to collaborate on.
Now would it be, I'll speak first and then I'll jump to you. Would it be better for the Skidoo Club to ask for the consultation along with, like, Athabasca County can go there, but because it's their idea, right? So they need to be able to sell this to the public.
Oh, I totally agree, that, you know, the snowmobile club should definitely hold a public engagement and, you know, obtain that, pass on the information of what they want to pass on to the public. But these are impacting specific residents along the route. And I believe that we as a council and we as a county have that obligation to at least communicate to these people that it's happening. I'm not sure that the snowmobile club would be able to have that same reach as a mail out as what the county would. And if we're talking, I don't know, 150 people, I have no idea. I have no idea how many people are along that route, but I don't think it would be that expensive to do that mail
out. Go ahead, Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. If, you know, going across number 1, 2, and 3 highways and never mind our county roads, how many people are we talking about? And when it comes down to the activity type on 107 you were showing, I would only assume that, you know, a lot of those no's would just come down to their liability, I would assume. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel it's necessarily our responsibility to put up what's the word I'm looking for? Town hall or anything like that as well. So, and I commend you and give you a lot of respect for the amount of research you put into this.
Councilor Hall.
So administration has asked us a couple of questions. So I just want to back up and remind council that council has made a decision to support this on a trial basis. And I think, you know, subject to the agreements that administration is recommending and the minor corrections, we should be moving ahead and being supportive. Council has made a decision. We spoke at length about the public consultation, and in my memory, we're generally supportive of the idea that there should be consultation, but after a trial period. You can't have meaningful conversation when we don't know what we're talking about. And so I would refer administration in the answer to the question they outlined in their second bullet point to resolution CC 23507, where there was a request to do public consultation in advance and it was defeated by council. And again, in my recollection, it was to postpone it until after the trial basis. We can test it, see how it works, and then come together as a community and have something that we could talk about with knowledge. The other thing that I heard just now that I think is, I mean, a bit maybe not, that missed some of the presentation of facts is this is trail classification is a winter trail classification. And it, as I understand, is almost all exclusively in the right of way. So it's not that common anywhere in our county to see people walking, running, hiking, or backpacking in the ditches in the winter. Certainly, I've personally never seen anyone horseback riding in the ditch in the winter. I've not noticed a lot of horse-drawn carts ever, but specifically in the ditches. And certainly as someone who likes to cross-country ski, I would never go to a snowmobile track to cross-country ski anyway, because that's among the worst skiing I can think of. So I don't think those are need to be serious concerns for us, because this is not restricting all of those uses in the summer seasons. But again, in the winter, we're not seeing bicycles in the ditches of the county anywhere. It's just not, it's not something we see. So I don't think those need be massive worries for us. And I would hope that we can continue with the decision that council has already made to support this and move on. This is a real bonus to our region. Let's move this along and stop looking for reasons and ways to stall it.
Sir Cromwell.
Thank you. Well, I, for one, am glad that council has the ability to change its mind and fix decisions that may have been made in error in before. And that is the whole purpose of having a robust and engaging conversation. I'm very happy that we have that. And I completely stand by the fact that if we are authorizing and moving forward with something that will affect that landowner or those many landowners coming through their ditches, the idea of consultation after the fact, hey, by the way, we approved this for a year and we'll talk to you about it then, comes across with a huge amount of hubris and I believe is completely wrong and misguided. And I'm very happy that we're having the conversation to perhaps rectify and re-engage in some of those conversations to ensure we're doing right by our ratepayer.
Reeve Holland.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Cromwell. As a matter of fact, Councillor Hall, there is that type of activity that's happening in these ditches already that I mentioned. Horseback riding just happened the other day. And we slow right down for those people as respectfully that we should. So to say that it doesn't happen is incorrect. I think it is extreme disrespect not to make sure that residents along the trail, the proposed trail, be notified that this is something that's coming down their pipe, and to give them the opportunity as a stakeholder to collaborate in the way they see fit. I'm trying to get through to the fact that this trail management plan wasn't part of the presentation. So when we're given new information and updated information, we need to be taking that into consideration. We also made it very clear, this council has made it very clear, trails aren't a priority. And this is a lot of work for administration. And as we saw earlier today with our action plan, that we've got to be very, very specific on what priorities that we're giving our administration to work on. So it's not a stall by any means. It's respect for not only our administration, but for our public, the very public who need to know. And again, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to know who's for and who's against. There is a very specific table in this plan that requests 90% satisfaction. And so when you look at those kinds of numbers in this trail plan, which I think is brilliant, so that it sets those parameters and everybody has the same understanding and eliminates a lot of those questions. We've seen letters already in 2023. I've currently received an update to one of those letters in an email that I haven't had a real good chance to look at, that I will forward once I do, once I'm able to forward that. But yeah, I appreciate, we've heard as well around this table, I think we got that wrong. I think we made a mistake And this is a good opportunity and an incredible opportunity for a Great Canadian Snowmobile Trail to come through our community in a way that absolutely is, we can be proud of, that has been well thought out and well planned, and that the community as well as visitors are proud to come back to, want to come back to. And we've done it in a way that's been well thought out and collaborated properly. We haven't had a chance to collaborate with Forestry and Parks, and especially with regards to a trail management plan that I would think we would probably want to mirror for our own type of agreements in our municipality as well, how things are done for on the roadways. So I just think it's the respect is required for this and to do it right. And I would hope that council agrees.
Okay. Councilor Henderson?
Since Counselor Mins is staring at me. I'm not opposed to adding some communications to ensure that the public is aware of the plans that are happening and encourage them to express their concerns and try to work with the Snowmobile Club on this project to shape it in a way that helps the community. But I guess I have some concerns about only doing a mail out or targeting specifically the people who live along the trail, because I think that a snowmobile trail would affect so many more people in our community. And so I think just a little bit broader of a range of communication would be more appropriate than specifically only targeting your communications to the people who live along the trail. Because I think that whether you live along it or not, there's other people who might utilize it, and their say could also help form a project that would benefit the community. As far as everything else, I agree that we need to have some agreements in place, but I also really question our role in this project and whether or not we get to specify exactly what's happening on it. I think the maintenance for a snowmobile trail and the maintenance for skiing trail are just very different. And so if the snowmobile club is willing to commit to ensuring and maintaining the trail, I do think that they should have quite a bit of say in what they're approving to be happening on it. I know as somebody who does horseback ride, I would not take my horses on a snowmobile trail that's being groomed in, because they would damage it. Like especially in the right conditions, you start getting that softer snow in the spring and stuff, they would break through. And so I'm really sitting here questioning, what is our role in this? What do we need to take to encourage more involvement in it? And to ensure that the project is shaped in a way that benefits the community.
I guess I'll chime in here a little bit too. I'm an avid user of the snowmobile trail. I'm a member of the club. and everything they do an amazing job. They groom along the edge of the highway and out into south of Baptiste and down 812 south of Baptiste, and then across all the way over to Spotted Horse and everything, and down into Westlock. And when they start grooming going across county road allowances, a lot of them are pretty tight. So I think that's where our involvement kind of comes into is how do they get across there, and is there, to make it, I guess, let's go with safe. Then that would be the involvement we have. I know going out west, there's been some mention of every once in a while of people going off the trail and going through fields and stuff like that. But when you have a groomed trail, a lot of people will stick to that, and so it'd be a definite asset. But I know going past people's places where there has never been a trail, the consultation has to happen with them, because we're allowing a trail in our road allowance. That's the biggest thing. So And exactly that, to keep, to have restrictions on the trail is just due to grooming. I know out west right now, the poker rally's coming up next weekend, or this coming weekend, and they do not want to see quads, side by sides, everything on there because they've spent so much time and energy on grooming the trail, and that's why they don't want horses and that on there. But that's my input on it. But I do believe that we need public consultation for sure. Now, do we do it, or does the snowmobile club do it with conjunction with us? They're the ones trying to sell this trail. We're the ones that have to agree to it. So they have to talk to the landowners and sell it to the landowners, and then also sell it to Athabasca County that it's going to be done in a certain way. The grooming is going to be done in a certain way, so that maybe skidoos are going back and forth across the roads and different things. But I know when they do try to groom, they try to stay as far back from the edge of the road as they can, because they don't want to. But again, we get into tight situations. That's my input. Reeve Holland.
Thank you. No, and I appreciate the words that are being said here. And this isn't a situation to say I'm for, I'm against. It's a situation for me just to make sure that what's going on is announced. People are aware and they have an opportunity. The other thing, when we talk about a broader area, because it impacts, people coming from other places. I hate to remind you, but we had conversation for a survey for the sidewalk in Wandering River was only allowed for those people who lived on that side of the street when it impacted the whole community, and the whole community was not invited to participate. So I find we have to kind of, I don't know. I find it interesting that it would want to be a brighter area when we don't do it in others. Our role in this, we have infrastructure. That's our infrastructure that we have to worry about. There are many sections along the roadways that are too narrow. And so now we're looking at, okay, how do we stop the graders from making the banks so tall so the groomer can get through, and they zigzag across the roads so that they can't, because they can't stay on one side of the road. The trail is, and I would love to see that. Where exactly is this trail going to be? Because we've got a whole signage plan here. But where is it actually going to go? Because we can't stay on one side. So it's just, there's too narrow in several places. And so they're going to be zigzagging back and forth across the road, which of course is also a concern. But regardless, where is that trail actually going to be? What side of the road? When is it going to go across the road? How is that all going to happen? There's those very specific things that should be hammered out. And again, there are a lot of holes in this management plan that need to be hammered out. And Forestry and Parks are asking for that collaboration. And I think that we should, and responsibly give that to them. The other role in this are agreements. And they're huge. They're not just tiny little agreements that are say, yeah, okay, cool. And not to mention, I'm sorry to say it, but when you look at the email from Forestry and Parks, it doesn't mention anything about a trial. That information I don't think has been properly relayed. I was actually asked not 3, 4, or 5 days ago, what was that motion? What was the motion? So I don't think that all of the information is getting through to properly make a proper plan. And so I think that that's important that the collaboration happens, and that is on us. That definitely is on us. So anyway, for me, I would like to see a motion go through that we recommend to County Council to ensure that a mail out to all affected residents along the proposed trail take place. And then once we get that information back, I think that's when we go forward, when we talk about the different agreements, how that looks. But I also would like to recommend to County Council in a second motion after we have this conversation that we do a little bit more collaboration because we have new information with Forestry, Parks, and ASA. But that's where I'm at. And I think that that's fair. And I guess I would say landowners would be great, but some people are renting, and so that might miss them. To residents along the trail. I guess we'd have to be looking at tax roll to determine where they go anyway, wouldn't it? So I guess that wouldn't matter. So ignore my comment. I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Do we have time to do this mail out?
Well, Mr. Chairman, my question would be what do you want in the mail out? Because we're not the proponent. So, and do we refer to someone else if they have questions? Because if they call us, we're not the proponents, so we can't answer any of the questions. Nor should we.
No,
right?
and I totally understand. And that's what I mean. It would be a communication to say that this is a trail management plan that has been sent to the county. The Alberta Snowmobile Association is looking to do, expand the Great Canadian Snowmobile Trail. These are your contacts, should you have any questions. That's kind of what I would envision, seeing. I get it. We can't answer, these questions that are forestry and parks with regards to this draft, but there should be a way that they can look at it to understand the restrictions that are going to happen in front of their homes now, when they used to have that enjoyment. To have that taken from them without them knowing, I think is a big disservice to our community, or to our residents. So, yeah, I would definitely just like to make sure that it's an awareness package or awareness sheet that says, do you know, and this is what's happening. There's a trail management plan. And I'm not sure if Alberta Forestry and Parks would mind. I guess we would need their approval to say, hey, then when residents have questions, they either contact the Snowmobile Association or they contact Forestry and Parks. Because yeah, these types of things, like I say, there's a lot of holes in this, and I would also like to collaborate, like I say, with Forestry and Parks, just to make sure that the information that's contained within this management plan is accurate.
So I guess what, on that idea, I guess you'd want us to mail out, you'd want FS County to mail out this complete thing, or what?
No, there would be a way too big of a package. It would be like a one sheet communication point form, permission with, of course, with Alberta Parks and Alberta Snowmobile Association, that their contact information be given for any questions. And to be the link, that maybe there's a link online that they could be able to pull that the draft one up. I don't know. But again, the spirit of this is to collaborate with stakeholders. Stakeholders are residents, stakeholders of the county. Collaboration and on these types of things is hugely important. I know when the Trans-Canada Trail came through, there were months upon months of engagement, and Alberta TrailNet headed that up. And they did a great job of it. So I just think that this is not just a small little intermunicipal type trail. This is Canada wide. It will bring a lot of national attention, if not international attention. And we need to be doing it right so that we can be proud.
Councillor Cromwell? No? Okay. So you just want a one pager mailed out to each resident along the trail? Would that be from the Baptiste Lake all the way across through to?
County line.
Okay, with the contacts of the Skidoo Club, the ASA, or the Skidoo Club here?
Well, I believe here it mentions on here, provide an opportunity for collaboration, forestry and parks, transportation and economic corridors, the Alberta Snowmobile Association, and other stakeholders. So I'm not sure if you would consider the River Runners would like to have their name on that. By all means, I mean, are they a stakeholder? I would say yes.
Okay.
One issue I have with that is if all communication is directed back to them, then we don't get an accurate representation of thoughts, opinions, and what is being said. So I cannot support that because we cannot verify the quality of the responses that we get back. I would like to see you make an amendment on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I agree. Yeah. A friendly amendment is if that's what council would like to see. Because we should have an idea of it, yeah.
It should have contacts through the chair to Paul, should have contacts to reach them for questions and comments, but we need to have a way to get an unadulterated version of those responses back and some of that conversation. It's far too simple to go, hey, so 3 months ago you got that mail out, give me a summary. Hey, 98% in favor. Sorry, I need hard data. I need actual answers to verify that.
So then you would put, your amendment would go to put our contact on there or what? Cause holy man, this is getting convoluted, totally convoluted.
I understand that, but how can we go, the results that we're getting are accurate if we're putting out information when we cannot get the result? I would think we could create a Survey Monkey to filter the results, and if you have any questions about, go to this group here and then tell us what you think in the end.
I would rather see the Skidoo Club actually do this instead of us. Just,
Well-
and then we can get the information from them or something. This is huge.
I get that, but you're saying you're going to get us to base our decision off of information giving us to us by a third party that is pushing for a project to go without any way to verify that information.
If I may, at some point we have to trust as well. You know, if forestry parks are involved, that's the province, I'm quite sure they would be interested. I know Alberta TrailNet did, like I say, they did a fantastic job and they provided the data. They, you know, and they did a great job at doing it. And, you know, if it's some time that we get this information that comes back from the snowmobile clubs or from wherever, forestry park, whoever chooses to do the public engagement, piece, and it looks bizarre, by all means, you know, I think we could go forward, but I'm pretty sure we can trust the club. As you mentioned, they do a great job. ASA has been doing, the work as well. It's, you know, I don't want to make this as an onerous task for administration or the county, but we have to be fair, in my mind, to our residents to at least let them know that this is what's happening. I mean, the people that didn't know the last time we had this conversation I was shocked. And so that to me is, these are people's neighborhoods. This is not just a forestry trunk road at the foothills of the Rockies. This is residential farm area. And people need to know that it's going to change potentially, as you mentioned, Polka Rally coming up. There, like it mentioned in the management plan, there's going to be promotion. There's going to be events. There's going to be things happening. There's cattle that's right up against those fences. And right now at this time of the year, they're pregnant, you know, and so to send them off running, not to mention, you know, people need to know if they have to make provisions to put their cattle in a different area just to, you know, deal with those situations. People need to know. So I'm bent on trying to get that information out best way we can.
I get what we're trying to do here. We're trying to protect our residents, and I can totally agree with that. Protect our residents to before we okay this trail. But I don't want to see us have to put in 1 million man hours to do this for another entity that wants to put the trail across. If somebody wants to go and put a trail through, I think it should be up to the people that actually want to do the trail to get a hold of everybody and say, hey, we really want to do this trail, but the municipality won't let us put the trail in unless we get good feedback or get positive feedback from area residents. We're having an open house here. Please come and talk to us about it. Because we're talking a lot of hours of getting this stuff out there. And again, we're doing it to protect. I understand we're doing it to protect our residents, but God, we're spending a lot of money for another entity that they should be going out and selling their wares first to everybody. And then proving to the county that this is okay. Cause if they go out and they start selling their wares, I'll guarantee you, you're gonna get calls. You're gonna get calls with people that are a little bit excited, but at least they're out there putting their time and energy into it prior to us having to send it out. And some people, I'll guarantee you 90% of the people are gonna say absolutely no. And then it's not us telling the Trail Association no, it's actually the people saying no, but we haven't put in a whole ton of work. Cause this is big.
And I appreciate what you're saying. It is big. And that's why it needs to be communicated. And the point that I would like to make is we did not get people responding to our small business incentive, tax incentive until we did a mail out. Now, did that take hours and man hours and tons of money? Don't think
No, but
so.
we hit certain people. This is
Certain people.
this.
And we don't know at this time. For
No.
me, I guess if the county's not willing to do it, then I guess some counselors are gonna be able to take that time to get that information out to people, because it's not fair. It's absolutely,
No, no, it's not fair. But it's not fair to the county to have to go and sell this trail.
we're not
to
selling it.
everybody.
We're
Yeah,
only
we are.
communicate, no, it
No,
would
we're
not be
selling the
selling
tra-
it. It would be communicating to people, this is what's happening, possibly
But Why
happening in your
can't
neighborhood.
why can't the CSA or whatever it is, why can't they go out there and say, hey, we're looking at putting a trail beside your down the road allowance. And we're out here to communicate, because that's gonna be the first question. What are you going to do with this? What are you gonna do with that?
Absolutely.
And put the onus onto them that they need to go and talk to the landowners. And then, like I said, I'll guarantee you, the landowners are gonna be calling their counselor saying, what is going on, or are you for this or whatever, right? That's the way I look at it. Counselor Anderson.
I think what you're both recommending is you want community consultation done. Might I recommend that county council, as a condition of us cooperating further on this, requires the snowmobile club to do community consultation and come back to council as a delegation to inform us of the results.
Perfect.
Because then they're going out, they're selling their project. We know that information is going to come back to us. We know that it's coming back as a delegation. We'll have that opportunity to tell everybody we know to watch the live stream, to watch the delegation, to ask their questions so that we can ask them at that delegation time. But you're both going really back and forth here, and I'm sorry, but at some point I'd like to get home today, so.
Well, and I appreciate that. No, I
Yeah.
really do appreciate that, because we also have to remember, we've heard time and time again that it's a mistake not communicating with our residents. And so I'm sorry, but I think that the residents are gonna say, why didn't the county tell me? So that's where I sit, and that's where I'll leave it. I totally think it's a disservice to our residents for the county not to simply send out a one-page communication document that says, hey, this is coming down your pipe. We are just informing you so you have an opportunity to engage with the snowmobile club. And I just think it's a disservice if we don't.
CEO Beck.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So just an idea, if first of all, we haven't talked directly to the snowmobile club about this since September, I believe. I don't think anyone on staff. If they would be amenable to hold an open house at the multiplex one night to explain it and show some maps, and it would be open even to council to attend to hear what they're hearing. And if they would be amenable to do that, perhaps our mail out could be simply advertising of the open house that night to be held by the snowmobile club. No, really no information from us, but if you want more information, please attend that night. And I believe our staff could handle that kind of a mail out, but we're not the proponent. We're just making you advise that that the club is going to do it. And so we'd have to reach out to the club and see if they would want to do something like that.
I believe Counselor Holland had put a motion on the table. Can we please call the question?
Okay, so the,
Friendly amending that one? What was it again now? Because I'm lost. I like
I
the
think
what CAO back.
I wrote it down.
Thank
So the way I wrote it down, it says recommendation to council that the county send out communication to residents along the route regarding the proposed snowmobile trail.
Okay, so we would change that.
Or you could
all.
add advising of public open house.
If what happens if they choose not to do that?
We'd have to report back to council.
Okay.
What we could probably do, this is a recommendation back to council.
Right.
So it would go next week. In the meantime, we'll try to talk to the snowmobile club and say, this is what committee of the whole discussed. It will go next week. What do you think?
Okay.
okay, yep.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I love debate. So on the question of that motion, all in favor? 2, 5, 6 against,
Nay.
so 6-4, 1 against, motion carried. Thank you. 8.1. Land matters, Southwest 27, 6517, west of the 4th. And that's right here. So we have a recommendation that the committee whole receive this report as information. I guess getting down to talking to administration, how, could we close that road allowance?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, absolutely, that is an option, road closure. What we wanted to achieve today is just to give the committee of the whole, or to give Mr. Gabriel an opportunity to present his case and his thoughts to the committee of the whole, and then administration will be bringing forward some recommendations and or a recommendation and some options for the council meeting on February 27th about this, but closing the road is an option.
Okay, so you're gonna be bringing information to the county council on the 27th.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Hall?
Can I propose that the committee receive this report for information? Administration has been clear they're going to bring it back to us. Let's wait to hear what they have to say and then engage a discussion then.
Okay, now we get into the issue of yes, I guess we can, so receive this report as information and to send a report to more
Nothing
information to
beyond that.
county council?
Just a recommended motion. Administration has been clear that they intend to bring this back already. I think all we need to do is receive it for information and move on.
Okay. Okay. Any more discussion on this item?
I just have a quick question. I'm sorry, did part of that information that's coming back is with regards to leasing the road allowance?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that will be part of the options, will be, you know, what are the steps or what are the options and what are the steps involved with each of those for council's consideration.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. That would be 7-0. Okay, so motion, oh no, I guess items added on 9.1 FCM discussion.
So basically, this is a Canada-wide impact I guess it's a virtual meeting that's happening with FCM tomorrow. They're doing it all across Canada tomorrow for our areas at 9 o'clock, I believe, or 9:30. I'm just trying to get that open. But anyway, what it basically is impact of tariffs on municipalities. And they were just trying to gain feedback from the municipalities on how they feel that this could it very well impact them. And of course, the first thing I thought of with regards to the steel and aluminum tariffs were bridges. And what that's going to look like and how, you know, obviously there's going to impact into municipalities, but how severe of an impact that's going to be, you know, and what that looks like. And so I was just hoping to gain a bit of a discussion on this to see where administration was sitting and where councilors are sitting and understanding the realm of the impact.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, and heavy equipment, which is, it's a necessary for us to take care of our roads, and the last time this happened, it spiked. So, yeah, absolutely, that meeting, I'm registered for the one tomorrow morning, so we all want to learn more about it. But yeah, last time this happened, there was huge implications for us. So it's a good point.
No, and I appreciate that because I would think that that's definitely going to have, I don't think that's going to stop there. I think our budgets are going to be basically thrown out of the water, and we're going to be trying to be very creative. And the more we understand, the better, and as well as trying to, I guess, so show some solidarity with municipalities across the country on how this is going to be. So I appreciate you're also going.
Okay, any other discussion on this? So I guess this is tomorrow morning at 9:30, something like that.
Yeah, I'll put it up here just.
I think, well, you sent an email out, wasn't it? Didn't the email come out to all the council stating that this was going on? So, yeah, you betcha.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. tomorrow morning, FCM discussion. Okay, no other discussion regarding that. Okay, we'll move on to 9.2 RCMP discussion. That letter that came out from the minister.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, further to that, to the letter that I sent to council, I've already reached out to RMA, the province, and some colleagues, and everyone's caught flat-footed. No one got any advance notice. So including RMA, which is kind of shocking. So usually RMA at least gets some advance notice, and they indicated that they were not aware. So we're all just playing catch up today, and I've reached out directly to the Solgen's office and have not received a response, and that's all we have. Yeah.
To me, it looks like it's just another huge download and kind of like a takeover where all of a sudden they want to start taking what's our property and doing what they want with it, right? So, and until we get more information regarding it, it's.
Mr. Chairman, that it seemed to indicate that it would begin tomorrow, February 19th, unless just so you're aware, I completely intend to ignore the letter because we have not been contacted.
Yeah, exactly.
No one from any municipality has received anything from the Minister of Municipal Affairs or the Minister of Public Security. If they did, we would absolutely follow their direction, but we've received nothing. So I think there's nothing to follow.
This is kind of like a tariff deadline. Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
Just to provide a bit of additional information what the CAO just said, I know that some chief elected officials have received letters directly from the minister or the minister's office that look identical to the one that was circulated to council to the deputy commissioner of the RCMP. And I think there are lots of questions for our council on this that, you know, we obviously can't make a formal decision here, but we need to start thinking about. There's obviously jurisdiction issues, there's payment issues, and it looks like the province is trying to take a resource that we fund for our purpose because they've underfunded their resource. And so, I mean, the idea of ignoring it is one thing. The idea of sending a letter that says no is the other. But I know that some munis have received it. It also, I mean, want to put on the record, it looks like it was a pretty rushed job. If we look at the letter that came out, that was again circulated to council, the carbon copy is the carbon copy to the person who the letter is addressed to. So I'm just not even sure if the minister's office has a clear plan on what they're doing here. Because that letter is basically the letter that went to some of the other municipalities with the name changed at the top from the chief elected official to the deputy commissioner. So to me, this is a no. I don't even think there's jurisdiction.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't think we have to react to this anything until we get more information, especially if our great colleagues of RMA didn't know anything about it. They're kind of like our watchers and that, and
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and we have received nothing directly to our chief elected official. So, we have nothing to respond to.
yeah.
It hasn't been communicated to us. It was shared with us by another agency. That's all.
Maybe this is just a vicious email push. Who knows? Who knows? So, okay, well, take that as we'll wait for more information to come about that. Looks like we have to take a motion for going into closed. Counselor Chomsik has made the motion going in closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. So we're going into closed.